A WJZ exclusive with the Harlem Park Three. Three Baltimore teens wrongfully convicted of murder back in 1983. Their release after decades in prison, a victory thanks to the city state's attorney and the Innocence Project. And today's Coffee With, Vic Carter speaks to all three about how their lives began to unravel when they were teens and what their lives look like now.
Look at their faces. Know their names. Alfred Chestnut, Andrew Stewart, Ransom Watkins. The innocence of youth fleeing right before them as they are herded into police vans and hauled off to prison.
We draw guns on, slam us to the concrete, don't move, don't do nothing, and then put you in the paddy wagon.
They were accused of the brutal killing of DeWitt Duckett, a friend who senselessly lost his life over a Georgetown sports jacket on November 18, 1983, right in the hallway of Harlem Park Middle School. It would be 36 years before they would ever breathe free air again. But for these three men, now in their 50s, freedom doesn't feel free. They're still reliving the tragic tale that robbed them of their most formative years.
We told them the truth from the beginning. We had nothing to worry about because we didn't do anything.
But innocence wasn't enough, and the growing case against them dominated the news.
Prosecutors in court told the judge they had 5 witnesses who saw Andrew Stewart try to remove the jacket from DeWitt Duckett that day. The judge gave him $75,000 bond. Those same witnesses saw Ransom Watkins hold the man about the neck. They gave him $100,000 bail. And those same witnesses saw Alfred Chestnut pull the trigger and kill DeWitt Duckett. The judge set his bail at $150,000.
Except none of that was true. A lawsuit against police claims that officers coerced young witnesses to lie and that the detectives fabricated a narrative that pinned the crime on the innocent teens.
He don't have no gun. He don't own no gun.
Eyewitness accounts were ignored, as was physical evidence pointing to a different suspect. The suit names Baltimore police officers Donald Kincaid, John Barrick, Bryn Joyce, and the Baltimore Police Department. The men describe how police repeatedly tried to get them to admit they did it, but they stuck together, knowing they were innocent.
You know, the officer that arrested us, you know, like he told me when I first got locked up, you know, he white, I'm black. They're gonna believe what he say, regardless of what I say or what we say. And we going to jail. So he basically, and he was telling the truth, because that's what happened.
So this officer or a group of officers said to you, I'm white, you're black, who are they going to believe?
Right. That's the first thing he said to me. Without any hesitation, like this was a normal thing that he must say to black kids, because it came right off it rolled right off his tongue.
The three best friends remained close, even behind bars, and Chestnut's relentless fight to prove their innocence finally paid off.
Attorneys for these three men say this is not an isolated incident. In fact, this lawsuit names 12 different cases where the wrong defendants were arrested, charged, and convicted. In each case, there was overwhelming evidence proving their innocence that was withheld from prosecutors, from defense attorneys, and from judges. It is, they say, a pattern in practice within the Baltimore Police Department that dates back decades.
And it was that practice, the lawsuit says, that robbed the Harlem Park Three of much more than their freedom.
The whole time I was in prison, father died, grandmother died, sister died, brother died. I lost everything, right? And the ones that I come home to is no connection. Much as I want that connection, I can't find that connection with them. The state done that. They done that to us.
If you could talk to the police officers, or you could talk to the judge, you could talk to the prosecutor, what would you say to them right now?
Why? Why us? Why anybody? Why would you do that to anybody? Especially kids.
Good morning. We're talking about the Harlem Park Three with Vic Carter. Now, these are the three names we're going to have to remember for this story. Alfred Chestnut, Andrew Stewart, Ransom Watkins. They were all accused of killing DeWitt Duckett over a Georgetown sports jacket in November 1983 at Harlem Park Middle School. And they're still feeling the effects of this today, Vic.
Oh, that's to say the least. You know, these are three young men. They were teenagers. They were 15, 16 years old at the time. And they were accused of a crime they did not commit. And as a matter of fact, there's a pending lawsuit against the police department which basically outlines that the police department rushed to judgment on these three men, ignored crucial evidence that could have exonerated them back then, and intimidated witnesses, intimidated these three young men. As a matter of fact, what occurred in years later, as they sat in these jail cells, they were able to find this information. And the Innocence Project, as well as the Conviction Integrity Unit, the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, read through the transcripts, researched the case, and as a result, these three men were set free. But they spent 36 years each. That's 108 years. That alone is the largest wrongful conviction rate anywhere else in the nation.
Gosh. Okay, so 36 years before they saw free air again. That's astounding. So WJZ actually covered the story way back when in 1983. So the witnesses lied, the detectives lied, and evidence was ignored. Quite simply, why do you think that was?
Apparently, according to this lawsuit, that was pattern in practice for the Baltimore Police Department. You know, there's a lot of pressure. This is a big case. They needed to be able to wrap this case up quickly, and they took the path of least resistance and convicted these three young men.
Why do you think race played a factor in this?
Well, unfortunately, race plays a factor in so many things that happen right now. And back then, you know, there wasn't the same level of involvement among people of our color. At the time in the prosecutorial end, as well as those who were attorneys representing them. So we have three parts to this story. Tonight, of course, or the piece you just saw is all about the actual case. The second part is about them getting on with their lives, and the third part is the relationship between this case and what's happening right now with Black Lives Matter and the protests in the streets of Baltimore and around the nation.
The Harlem Park Three with Vic Carter.